No glasses today and clean shaven. And like I said, never know.
You never know who's gonna arrive.
Well, my friend, and all you out there, welcome to Life Stuff,
Mm-hmm. I'm
where we,
talking about life
the
and
good,
stuff.
the bad, the beautiful, the ugly,
Yeah.
we talk about it all.
We had such a lovely time last week with Sam. If you haven't watched that episode, check it out because we really enjoyed having her as a guest.
Yeah. And sometimes, most of the time, we have no idea what we're going to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
But I have something I'd like to talk about today.
Oh.
And what I'd like to talk about today is the struggle that I have, and I think most people can relate to, the struggle between spirit and ego.
Mm. What does that mean to you?
I teach meditation off and on, and sometimes I do a class on this subject, and it's there are many voices in our head,
Mm-hmm.
but there are two main ones really that I believe. And one is our spirit voice. Our spirit voices are um is if you believe in God, it's the voice that comes from God. It's our intuition, it's our gut, it's our voice that um guides us and wants us to go in a certain direction, whatever, and gives us answers to things. The ego voice is very different. The ego voice is, and when I say ego, I don't mean the overinflated sense of ourself. Our ego voice is the voice that tells you you're not good enough.
Mm.
The voice that really doesn't want you to be happy, really doesn't want you to like go out of your comfort zone. It's our fear. That's actually it's our fear voice.
Yeah, because ego is an interesting word, like in our culture now. I think we don't need to go into it just yet, but we should touch on it at some point in this episode because I feel like you're getting to a detail that's important that this fear voice is also something that people might call the ego or no.
Oh, yes. Oh,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah, 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 yeah. Again, it's that voice that stops us.
Hmm.
What is the most common thing why we don't do anything? It's fear. I think, when you want to take that, leap of faith or um yeah, then your ego voice says, no, no, don't do it, you know?
For
And you
fear of what would happen.
yeah, for fear of what would happen.
Yeah, that
That's
you're gonna fail in some way.
that you're
Yeah.
gonna fail. That you're gonna fail. Exactly. That's a good way to put it. So it's been, I mean, I'd have to say for most of my life, that is been very dominant, the
Hmm.
struggle between the two. And the other day I woke up and I'm a idea person, and I've had tons of ideas, and uh somewhere along the line I've talked to you about the thing I want to do with the sharing chair, and I kind of put that aside because it was like, there was a lot of fear,
Yeah.
and I didn't have the confidence, and I didn't, it really would be putting myself out there. Um, but it doesn't go away.
Mm.
And it came up again the other day, and it was very strong. But then, the ego stepped in to say, nah, you know what? Yeah, the idea is great, but uh, you know, you're not confident enough to do it. You're gonna fail. People aren't gonna want to sit in the chair. People are like you're gonna feel like an idiot out there, exposing yourself. And so, that's where I'm at.
Hmm.
Um,
It's interesting. Can I interject a second?
yeah.
It's interesting because like I've known you now for long enough to know that you have a deep connection to your like guide spirit, that that voice that exists in you, and you teach meditation, and you're open to exploration and new ideas, and yet also have your own practice and rituals and traditions that are for you. You obviously grew up in the church, so you're connected to that. But it's interesting because at the same time, just because you have all of that going on doesn't mean you don't have these moments where fear or that other voice takes over and dominates the conversation. No matter how old or young you are, this is just a part of being a human.
Yeah, and that's my point. I think we all go through this. Some of us, some not some of us, but some people are better at dealing with it than others. And those people who go out there and who fail time after time and time and still keep trying, and then one day they get it.
Yeah.
Those are the people who don't listen to their ego, you know. And a lot of this is about, yes, a lot about is about confidence and about like not giving a shit about what people think or say. And it's kind of the place I'm in too, where I'm like, I'm not feeling, I'm not feeling recognized. I'm not feeling acknowledged. And it's no secret that I've talked about with you before. I have struggles with friendships,
Hmm.
and people come and go from my life, but I've pretty much accepted that,
Hmm.
because people come into our lives for a reason.
Yeah.
And when it's time for them to go, they go. And somebody new comes along. But again, we've talked a lot too about being lonely. Like I'm not lonely, but sometimes I feel alone,
Yeah.
right? So it's all part of this. Um, I struggle sometimes to follow what I so believe in, which is trusting the universe. Again, people come into our lives to learn, and at the end of the day, the person we have is ourselves, right? And nobody is coming to save us.
Nope.
And you know, once you realize that, yeah, you can do this on your own, and you can do what you really want to do. If you get out of your own way, and if you get the ego out of your way. The ego is, bringing it back full circle. The ego is like, it's just like this thing out there. It's not even, it is a part of you, but it's not. It's this thing. And if you can not listen to your ego, and again, just really trust, then you really can accomplish what you want. But I'm telling you, there's days, and I'm in that struggling phase where it's like, I know, like, every ounce of my being is saying, you know, get that chair out there and get people to sit on it and listen to what they have to say. Like, so what do you like? Give me your, I mean, you know,
Well, I alluded to it already when I interrupted you about how I've known you long enough to know that like we vacillate between these ideas of what we want for ourselves and the reality of every day being a different feeling based on what you said. Some days is hot, some days you're cranky, some days you're in a really good mood and you feel like you can tackle everything in the world, and then the next day you don't feel so good, don't even know why some days. And what I've learned so far for myself is that that's just being a human. Like there's no way to avoid that. I know that we're fed ideas that like if you do this, if you do this, if you meditate, if you do all these things, there's a way to find a life where you never have to have this confusion. I call bullshit, because I just think part of being a human is the vacillation between these entities, which are your body, your physical environment, like the very like visceral aspect of being human, the fact that you have to take a shit every 8 hours, and then being intellectual enough to understand connection, love, humility, like the bigger emotions that are like much more like less tangible, more feelings that we have and that are connected to your conversation about self-worth, confidence, like why you do something, why you don't do something. And what I've part of what I wanted to say as you were talking about, like, I'm going to do the chair, I know I will do it eventually, is that when the impulse becomes strong enough, you will do it.
Mm,
And if you aren't doing it sooner, it's just not meant to have happened sooner. And
mhm,
I think we've beat ourselves up so often, but that's because we've been fed this message, and it's not entirely misguided, but this message that like life is only so long. Careful, don't
mm.
miss out. You gotta take life by the balls right now and do the things you want to do. I totally believe in that, but there's like a little bit of there's like a little asterisk on that for me, in that like we don't also need to then beat ourselves up about not doing everything we think we're supposed to do. And so if it hasn't happened yet, it means to me the impulse hasn't been strong enough. Like when it's strong enough to basically um combat the fear, like it gets strong enough that you're like, I actually don't care anymore. And you needed to experience, in my opinion, you needed to experience the vacillation between the two, to even like, I haven't dove into drag the way I want to yet, but I'm really trying to practice this idea of not judging myself. Because for who am I judging myself that I haven't done what I said I was going to do? I didn't give myself a timeline, but maybe that's also because for me, having lived a life of life coaching for 10 years, which really did teach me a lot about goals and motivation and all these things that I'm very grateful I know, but it also taught me that the over analyzing of absolutely every aspect of your life can also backfire in some ways, that you all of a sudden start to judge yourself for everything you're not doing. And I'm like, wait, no, I am doing lots of things that I love. And you are too. There's this other thing that you do want to do, and I believe you're going to do it.
I always try and bring myself back to, okay, but I may be feeling lonely. I may be feeling like what's next for me? But I always bring myself back to being grateful for what I have and for what I've done. And I have done a lot.
Yeah.
Um, but I still feel like there's more, you know?
Which is
And
important.
yeah.
It's why you don't think you have to leave yet.
So Justin, well, let me ask you this question. And how do you deal with how, because again, since I've known you, you more and more you are being yourself and not giving a shit what people think or say. So when you get that voice, or do you get that voice that says, don't do this, you're not good enough, or you're going to look like an idiot, or people are going to this, or they project you, or whatever. Do you get that voice?
Oh, yeah. It still
And what,
happens.
and how do you deal with that?
I think for me, it's become about deciphering, like, do I really want to do that thing, or is that what I thought I needed to do? I'll give you an example.
Okay.
I grew up singing. My mom is a singer. She's a voice teacher, and I can sing. And I grew up singing very classically. But that put me in a box that I didn't always enjoy. So fast forward to now where I don't really sing a lot in my life, but it is a part of me still because I grew up doing it. I there's a show on Mondays at Industry Now where I could sing a song because now they're doing live singing, and one of my bartender friends, Ernie, sang a song, and I was like, I could sing a song. And then I started to think about what I'd want to sing, and I was like, I don't know if I want to do this and feel that pressure and then not feel even good about the result of it. So I'm having to question whether my motivation to sing is because I truly just want to sing a song and enjoy that feeling of singing a song in, or if it's going to lead me down, maybe it's too soon, maybe it's too triggering to do something that's going to make me feel very similar to what I used to feel, which is very judged for the ability of singing, like, and that it has to make me money and that it has to be good, rather than just singing to sing, which is when you can tell when somebody's just singing because they love the sound of their voice coming out of their mouth, not even like egotistically, just like it's they
Yeah.
need to do it.
But that's my point. That's my point. Those many of those things that you said, to me, that's ego. You know,
Yeah,
like spirit is just get out there and do it. Like,
exactly.
going to be amazing. But then all these other things come in, and that's the voice. It's like, I mean, if you really feel that you're not genuinely ready, then that's fine.
Yeah,
But if you feel like you're not ready because you're afraid of what the reaction's going to be, or that you're not going to sound good enough, that is ego,
absolutely.
you know? So you say that part of this is ego for you not doing it.
Absolutely, because but it's old ideas. It's
Yes, of
old.
course.
The new Justin, as you just described, is much more like, fuck, I don't care what anybody thinks. But
Yeah,
singing is something from it's almost triggering because it's a part of an old paradigm that I used to live in.
yeah,
And so it's part of what I'm sort of like drag is new. Like I don't have anything, it can't be compared to
right.
anything. Even DJing feels a little different because it's still music, but it's not connected to music that I used to do.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and even that, like the last 3 weeks, I've like had my DJ board open every day and watched YouTube videos and have been like playing with it and understanding the board very differently. And I didn't, I consciously chose to not judge myself even though I saw it for almost a year sitting on my desk, like waiting to be used. And all of a sudden, I felt the impulse. It was based on Nikita being like, "Why don't you just watch some YouTube videos and you can learn about your board at least?" And I was like, "You're right, I can do that." And so I started, and that just led me to want to explore it more. It doesn't mean I'm going to perform tomorrow, but certainly that was
So
important.
so here's the thing, and this is because I have gone through this with so many things in my life. So
Mhm.
what you're describing is like this is the part that I love. Like I love creating. So with this chair, I got to the point where I had the logo, I had the chair, I had everything was all set. I have the business cards, I have the Instagram page, I have the YouTube page, like it's all there. And then that's when the ego came in and I got scared. When things get difficult for me, I tend to run away. And there again, that's ego. But when something keeps coming up over and all the time, this thing with drag with you, this thing with DJ, like if it doesn't go away and it keeps coming back, you have to do it, you know,
Absolutely.
because it'll just keep coming back because there's a reason why the universe wants you to do it. Even if you failed at it, at
Yeah.
least you can say, I did it, I tried it, and that's a success.
Yeah. But that's to get to that place where you can accept that even if you failed, if you fail at it, it's not perfect or it doesn't, the result is not as you imagined it might be, that it isn't an actual failure in terms of you shouldn't have done it. No, you actually still should. It's a crucial that you still did it so that you had the experience of doing it, not for the success or the failure, which, I can apply that to the singing. It's like, and it sort of just happened where I just was like, oh, I could do it, and didn't really let myself think about it, which is sometimes important to get the mind out of the way. Your body just is like, you want to do it, go for it. And then you start to like reel it back in, thinking, oh, why did I say yes to this? Now I'm nervous, blah, 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 blah. But I think I'm still going to do it because I just need to put myself in that position and go for it, regardless of the result.
Again, most of the stuff is that we don't do is based on fear. and lack of confidence. So how do people get that confidence?
When it comes to confidence, I think it's about small, like smaller than you think steps that you could take. So even just in this conversation that we're having, and it maybe sounds basic, but like for me, it's like I downloaded the karaoke track so that I could actually practice singing this song that I think
Yeah.
might be the song to do. And as I've tried it, I'm like, still like, oh, do I really want to do this? But what I've noticed in the last times that I did it is like old Justin was still like, is anybody listening upstairs? Is anybody listening downstairs? Is anybody listening? Is Nikita listening? What are they thinking? How do you even imagine you could possibly practice something if you're constantly judging everything that's coming out of, like, as a singer, out of your mouth, even just practicing? So that's like a basic first step that I haven't even really allowed myself yet, is just the like playing with the material and seeing if I even enjoy it. To my point earlier being that, like, I don't want to do this unless I really enjoy the experience of singing it. Now, in my mind, it's one of my favorite songs. I love the harmonies that it has. It's a version of Jingle Bells that Michael Bublé does, and it's fabulous. And I just think it's so like fucking Frank Sinatra-y, and like just like it's totally up my alley. And if that is what motivates me when I'm on that stage, it doesn't matter what happens and who's listening and if it sucks or if it's amazing. Because if I'm having the best time singing that material because I love it, then that's all that matters. But I also then have to let go of it being perfect, good, sound amazing, whatever ways my mind will want to make it about it being perfect.
Yeah, who gives a shit? If you really want to do it and it makes you feel good, then do it. You just got to push yourself through and you just got to do it no matter how uncomfortable it is. And perhaps doing something like that a little more often is going to make it a little easier the next time and a little more comfortable for you. And me with this chair idea, yeah, I mean, I'll probably shit my pants, before I go out and do the first one. But when I did the couch thing, like every time I went out, I was really nervous, just like actors and singers go out on stage and no matter how good they are, they get nervous. But then you
Exactly.
get into it and it starts flowing and people come and, people say great things and they sit on the couch or the chair and then it's like, oh, okay, this is really cool. So you just have to, and that's my thing. And we had an episode once, could probably find it, go way back, that we call Just Do It,
Yep.
So
I think the asterisk that I'll add to just do it is exactly what you just said. You don't have to do it every day.
yeah.
You don't have, it's that zero to hero thing that we have, this complex that it has to be all or nothing every single day. No, but it certainly it is important to some days like pull up your bootstraps and actually fucking do it. And it might be uncomfortable at night, it might not be fun, but like even me thinking about singing in 2 weeks has me with butterflies in my tummy already. I'm like, all right, but I'm gonna do it. I've already decided I'm gonna do it.
Let me add, and you don't have to do it perfectly,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
You're
That's
just
not what it needs
you,
to be about.
and people appreciate it. And though for those people say, "Oh my God, like he's off key," or is that like, well, fuck them,
Yeah,
because there's going to be way more people that are going to be like, "Oh my God, like I really appreciate that he's doing that, and I wish I could do that."
exactly.
I really want to do that, but I don't have the guts to do it.
Exactly. And that's why I do believe in like push yourself to do the things you want to do, but full circle to what I said to you already. If it's not happening yet, perhaps the impulse isn't strong enough yet in order to get past the fear, because the fear will always be there. Like you said, it doesn't matter if you're Beyonce or if you're me, like you still get nervous before you're presenting something to people, to the world. And no wonder you're still nervous about the chair. But eventually you're going to try it. And even to the moment before you say, can you sit at the chair, you'll still be nervous. And that's okay.
And there's ways of, the things that maybe you want to do. Maybe it's not just like, and you actually brought this up. It's not just like you don't have to go full throttle.
No,
I don't have to put myself in in the middle of the beach and stick that chair up. Like, do it like in baby steps.
completely. Completely. The baby steps. Like you don't have to go to the moon and back right away.
Yeah. I just had a really good thought.
Hmm?
Uh, and Justin and I haven't each actually even talked about this, but next week, why don't we do our little Christmas episode?
Hmm?
And why don't you sing that song?
Would love to.
There you go.
Love it.
That's our life stuff for today. And it was a little bit of a heavy one, but I think a good one. I think this is something that most people can relate to.
Hmm.
Um,
And as we often find in these chats that we have, there's not like one size fits all. But the theme of this certainly is that these are just aspects of being human. You don't just because you figure it out doesn't mean all of a sudden you don't have fear anymore. Oprah still has fear, but she's learned to deal with it. You learn to work with it, and then as we just said, you learn to take small steps, realizing that the small steps are way more important than, and they build confidence than than going right to the end. That's when the fear halts you.
I'd like to say sort of in closing here, ending here is that just sort of be aware that, you know, the people you may cross paths with or the people that you may see on stage or, you know, just kind of be be understanding and show some kindness. As we always say, and we're saying now at the end of our life stuff, like show some kindness and show some love
Yeah.
and right?
And grace. Give people some grace as they're dealing with a lot of the same things. Like
Hmm.
that's often what we just described is what most people are dealing with most of the days, varying degrees of it. And so if we can be a little, as you said, kinder, show some grace.
And just acknowledge people. People want to know that they matter.
Once again,
Life stuff number 4.
four.
Remember that the next one we're gonna have Justin singing.
A little would be serenaded by the vocal stylings of Justin Gerhard.
Well, I'm excited.
I'm gonna try to find actually now that we're doing this, I'm just gonna go for it. Talk about zero to hero. No, I'm not gonna do it all. But I'm gonna do I'm gonna do two now
Oh,
because I want to do two very different songs
yeah.
because that is really like that's totally Justin's style. Like the way I show up here, like you never know what you're gonna get is very how I would show up with two very opposing pieces of music too. So we'll see. Stay tuned.
Yeah.
All right, y'all.
Yeah.
Love you.
Peace out. Love you back. Love you all. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We're very excited to be doing this,
Yeah.
and we've landed on something that we just love. So
Thank you for watching.
bye.